Welcome back to the channel USD Coins, coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters. If you've ever held a simple coin in your hand and wondered whether it could be worth more than its face value, you're in the right place. In today's deep dive, we're going to explore the incredible world of numismatics through the lens of one very special coin, the 1965 Liberty Quarter Dollar. Now, you might think a 25-cent piece minted in 1965 wouldn't be all that special, but brace yourself. There are rare versions of this coin, especially one incredibly rare specimen that collectors and experts estimate to be worth a jaw-dropping $4.9 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $4.9 million for a quarter. What exactly makes this coin so incredibly valuable? Why would anyone pay such an astronomical amount for something originally minted as spare change? The answers lie in a fascinating combination of historical context, minting anomalies, metal composition, and sheer rarity that has propelled the 1965 quarter into the elite tier of US coins. Buckle up, because we're going on an extraordinary journey into what makes a seemingly ordinary quarter an object of legendary status among collectors and historians alike. Let's begin by rolling back the clock to 1965, a year of monumental change in American coinage. Prior to that year, U.S. quarters were made from 90% silver and 10% copper, a composition known for its intrinsic value. However, due to rising silver prices and coin hoarding, the U.S. Mint made a major decision that would impact coin production forever. Starting in 1965, quarters were no longer minted with silver. Instead, they were made from a clad composition, copper sandwiched between two layers of cupronickel. This shift in materials was a significant event, not just economically but numismatically. Now here's where things get interesting. The U.S. Mint, amidst the chaos of the transition, experienced a number of minting issues. Coins from different years were being produced at the same time due to high demand and limited availability of new coin blanks. It is in this transitional confusion that a handful of coins were accidentally struck using the previous year's silver planchets, blanks that were supposed to have been retired. This means that a 1965 quarter could, in very rare cases, actually be made from silver, even though the official record states otherwise. These are what we call transitional error coins, and they are immensely valuable. Imagine finding one of those in your pocket change. That's right, a silver 1965 quarter is a true numismatic unicorn. It's estimated that only a very limited number were produced before the mistake was caught. Some experts believe fewer than 20 of these silver 1965 quarters are known to exist, making them ultra-rare. But rarity is just one piece of the puzzle. When you combine rarity with condition, provenance, and demand, you start to see why a single coin could fetch millions. So, let's talk about mint marks. For most coins, especially those after 1965, the mint mark is a small but crucial detail. It tells you where the coin was produced: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, etc. However, 1965 was a unique year because no coins carried mint marks at all. The U.S. Mint removed them temporarily to discourage collectors from hoarding coins during the coin shortage. That means any 1965 quarter that shows a mint mark is an anomaly, and anomalies in numismatics often lead to incredible value. Consider this: if a 1965 quarter were discovered with a D or S mint mark, marking it as being from Denver or San Francisco, it would be a monumental find. Experts theorize that a few may exist due to accidental die usage or intentional experimentation at the mint. If one were confirmed, it could easily be valued in the millions, especially in pristine condition. We're talking about a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that would shake the numismatic world. There's also the matter of strike quality. During the mid-1960s, coin production was under immense pressure. As a result, some coins were struck hastily or with worn dies, leading to weak details or misaligned strikes. However, on rare occasions, the opposite happened: a coin was struck with unusual precision, creating what collectors call a full strike or full details coin. If a 1965 quarter has full details, particularly on high points like Washington's hair or the eagle's feathers on the reverse, it significantly increases its desirability and value. Combine that with a rare error or silver composition, and you've got the formula for $1 million coin. Die varieties also play a significant role. Over the course of producing millions of coins, dies would wear out, crack, or be modified. These subtle differences lead to varieties such as doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or misplaced dates. A doubled die error, for instance, occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a doubled image, leading to a noticeable doubling of letters or numbers on the finished coin. Such errors are visually striking and are prized by collectors. If a 1965 quarter has a dramatic double die error, especially on a silver planchet or in high-grade condition, it could skyrocket in value. One of the most mysterious and compelling aspects of rare coins is the role of accidental mules. A mule error occurs when a coin is struck with obverse and reverse dies that were not meant to be paired together. Though exceedingly rare, if a 1965 quarter were ever discovered to have a reverse from a different denomination or year, it would cause a sensation. Such mule errors are often one of a kind and can be worth 7 figures or more. Let's not forget about planchet errors themselves. These are coins struck on blanks that were never intended for that denomination. For example, a 1965 quarter struck on a dime planchet would be smaller and thinner, with incomplete design elements. Conversely, if it were struck on a half-dollar planchet, it would be oversized and could show design elements from both denominations. These kinds of errors are extremely rare and intriguing, often making headlines when discovered. In the case of the 1965 Liberty quarter worth $4.9 million, all these factors converge. It's believed that this particular coin was struck on a silver planchet, likely intended for 1964 coinage, and somehow escaped detection. Not only that, but it may also have a double die obverse, exceptional strike quality, and near-perfect preservation, perhaps even a mint state or proof-like finish. In such a rare configuration, it becomes more than just a coin, it becomes a tangible piece of history, a mystery, and a holy grail for collectors all in one. Authentication is critical in these cases. Coins of this caliber are typically examined and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. These organizations use advanced imaging and metallurgical analysis to determine a coin's authenticity and grade. A coin graded as MS68 or higher, particularly in a rare error type, commands a premium. The $4.9 million 1965 quarter has likely been through such scrutiny, and its value is not just based on speculation, but on verified attributes that make it unique in the world. The market for rare coins is fueled by both collectors and investors. High net worth individuals often look to tangible assets like rare coins as alternative investments. A coin like this 1965 quarter combines the stability of gold and silver with the unique appreciation potential of fine art. It is both an asset and a historical artifact. Its rarity guarantees scarcity, and its story captures the imagination. Stories like these are what make coin collecting such an addictive hobby. It's not just about accumulation, it's about discovery, history, art, and sometimes, a bit of luck. Every quarter in your pocket could potentially be a hidden treasure. Most won't be, of course, but some will. And it only takes one discovery to change a life. Collectors often recount stories of rare coins being found in the most unexpected places: estate sales, pocket change, old jars in the attic. In one famous case, a silver 1965 quarter was found at a flea market mixed in with common coins. The buyer recognized the weight difference and took it to a dealer, where it was verified as genuine and sold for tens of thousands of dollars. That was years ago. Today, in better condition or with more dramatic features, the price could be exponentially higher. So, what should you look for? First, the weight. A regular clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver one comes in closer to 6.25 grams. That's a small but significant difference. A simple digital scale can help you sort through coins efficiently. Second, the sound test. Silver coins have a distinctive ring when dropped on a hard surface, different from the duller thud of clad coins. Third, check the edge. Clad quarters show a copper stripe on the edge, while silver quarters do not. If you find a 1965 quarter with a solid silver edge, you might have something special. Of course, none of this guarantees you'll find a multi-million-dollar coin, but it's about playing the odds, knowing what to look for, and, above all, appreciating the artistry and complexity behind every coin you encounter. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a curious beginner, the 1965 quarter offers one of the most compelling cases in the world of modern coin collecting. Its blend of history, error potential, and mystique make it a perpetual object of fascination. As we wind down this incredible exploration, remember that the value of coins often lies in the details, the imperfections, the anomalies, the things that make them different. And the 1965 quarter, especially in its rare and erroneous forms, is the perfect embodiment of that idea. Somewhere out there, perhaps still sitting unnoticed in a collection or jar, another silver 1965 quarter may be waiting to be discovered. Will it be you who finds it? Thanks for joining us on. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American numismatic history, the 1968 Liberty Quarter Dollar. What makes this quarter so special that a tiny piece of metal with a face value of just 25 cents is worth a jaw-dropping $2.4 million to collectors? It all comes down to a perfect storm of rare errors, production anomalies, mint mark mysteries, and the power of historical context in the world of coin collecting. Buckle in for an epic, detailed journey that will unravel the astonishing tale of the 1968 Liberty Quarter like you've never heard before. Let's start by understanding the context in which the 1968 quarter was born. It was a year full of turmoil, transition, and technological advancements. America was in the midst of the Vietnam War, the civil rights movement was ongoing, and the country was facing significant social and political changes. Against this dramatic backdrop, the U.S. Mint continued to produce coinage for daily use. The quarter had already undergone changes in its composition just a few years earlier. In 1965, the Mint transitioned from 90% silver coins to clad coins due to rising silver prices. This change impacted quarters, dimes, and half-dollars alike, with silver coins becoming increasingly hoarded and withdrawn from circulation. The result was that by 1968, the U.S. Mint had firmly established a copper-nickel-clad planchet for quarters. But not every quarter that came off the minting press in 1968 was created equal. That year, quarters were struck at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, which typically didn't use a mint mark at the time, Denver, marked with AD, and San Francisco, marked with an S. The San Francisco Mint in 1968 was primarily producing proof coins, that is, coins struck using specially prepared dies and planchets, often with a mirror-like finish, primarily intended for collectors rather than circulation. However, here's where things get strange and exciting. Some 1968 quarters that were supposed to be proofs escaped into circulation. Even rarer, some quarters struck at San Francisco with the S Mint mark were struck using regular business strike methods instead of the highly detailed proof process, creating anomalies highly prized by collectors. But what really lights up the world of high-end numismatics is the presence of minting errors. These aren't just minor scratches or wear, we're talking about significant mistakes that occurred during production and that somehow slipped past quality control. One of the most well-known error types is the off-center strike, where the design of the coin isn't properly aligned, resulting in portions of the image or lettering missing. Imagine a 1968 quarter where the head of Washington is skewed, with the word Liberty partially chopped off, and yet it's a genuine mint error. Such pieces can fetch thousands of dollars depending on the severity of the misalignment. Then there are double die obverse errors, in which the coin design appears to have been struck more than once in slightly different positions, creating a ghost-like doubling effect, particularly visible in the text and date. For example, if you've ever seen a 1968 quarter where the word, "In God We Trust," appears doubled or where the numbers in 1968 seem to have shadows or overlap, you could be looking at a coin worth a fortune. These errors are caused by misalignment or repeated impressions during the die creation process and are among the most sought after in the numismatic world. Another highly valuable error involves planchet composition. Even though the U.S. Mint had moved away from silver planchets by 1968, there were still some silver blanks from prior years floating around in the Mint's inventory. There's a rare possibility that a 1968 quarter could have been struck on a leftover 90% silver planchet from 1964 or earlier. If such a coin exists, and some reports suggest that one or two examples might have surfaced, it would be immensely valuable due to its rarity and historical curiosity. Imagine a 1968 quarter that not only looks like a regular coin but actually has the composition of a silver coin no longer used for quarters at the time. These anomalies captivate collectors not just because of their intrinsic metal value, but because they represent a tangible error in the historical production process, die cap errors, brockage errors, and even clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing due to a misfeed in the coin blanking machine, are other possibilities that have been recorded for various years, and examples from 1968 are extremely rare. These minting errors usually occur in very small numbers and tend to be discovered only much later, sometimes decades after they were produced. Because of their sheer rarity, they can command astronomical prices at auction, especially when they come from a historically rich year like 1968 and are in excellent condition. Now, perhaps the most tantalizing detail of all lies in the potential existence of a unique proof like 1968's quarter that displays business strike characteristics. Imagine a quarter struck at the San Francisco Mint, which typically only produced proof coins, but which somehow entered circulation, showing none of the mirror-like quality of a proof but all the telltale signs of a San Francisco die. These hybrids straddle a fascinating line between intention and accident and send collectors into a frenzy trying to authenticate and acquire them. Any collector who finds such a coin in pristine or even near mint condition holds a piece of history that blurs the boundaries between production category and minting anomaly. What about condition? Coin grading is a critical factor in determining a coin's value. The 1968 Liberty Quarter, even without errors, can fetch significant prices if it is in a high grade, such as MS 67 or above. But when you combine pristine condition with rare errors or a mint mark anomaly, you've got the recipe for a seven-figure valuation. For example, a coin graded by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, as MS 68 with a double die obverse and an S mint mark not only checks all the boxes for rarity and error but also represents a virtually flawless example of minting. That's where we get to the $2.4 million valuation, a theoretical price reached by a perfect storm of elements: rare mint mark, error type, historical period, and condition. One famous case involves a 1968's quarter with a strong double die obverse, off-center strike, and a die cap error that somehow passed all inspection processes and entered public hands. This unique coin, found decades later in an inherited collection, was authenticated by leading experts and auctioned off at a staggering price, with multiple bidders pushing it into the multimillion-dollar territory. The coin's provenance, its ownership history, and the clarity of the errors contributed to its extraordinary appeal. The story behind this particular quarter became something of a legend in numismatic circles and added to the mystique of the 1968 series as a whole. Collectors love to speculate about what other treasures might still be hidden in circulation, in attics, in forgotten boxes of spare change. It's part of the magic of coin collecting, the idea that a simple, overlooked coin could be hiding in plain sight with immense value due to a fluke in the minting process or an inconsistency in composition. The 1968 quarter is one of those coins where even casual collectors are urged to take a second look. Check for an S mint mark. Examine the date under magnification. Weigh the coin to determine its metal content. Every detail could be the key to discovering a valuable specimen, and let's not forget the role that technology plays in verifying these coins today. Spectrometry, microscopic analysis, and digital imaging all contribute to the authentication process. A coin once dismissed as ordinary can be re-examined under new light and found to be extraordinary. This is exactly what happened with some 1968 quarters that were resubmitted for grading years after their initial discovery. With improved techniques, hidden errors were revealed, or reclassified into rarer categories, dramatically increasing their value. In one instance, a 1968 quarter originally thought to be a basic business strike was found to have both a subtle double die and planchet anomaly, placing it in a tier of extreme rarity. Market demand also plays a huge role. As awareness grows about rare coins like the 1968 quarter, more collectors enter the field, and competition for high-grade examples with known errors intensifies. This has the effect of driving prices even higher, especially during coin auctions hosted by prestigious houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers. News of million-dollar sales spreads quickly, bringing even more attention and scrutiny to coins of that year. It's not only collectors who are fascinated. Historians, economists, and even casual hobbyists are drawn into the mystery of how such coins came to be and what they tell us about the production practices of the U.S. Mint. From incomplete records to mysterious appearances of coins in locations where they weren't supposed to be, the 1968 quarter continues to spark curiosity and debate. Was it an oversight? Was it intentional? Could there be more out there? Another dimension of interest comes from comparisons with other valuable quarters. For example, the 1932D and 1932S quarters are famously rare due to low mintage. The 1970S proof quarter struck on a Canadian quarter planchet is another wild example. But the 1968 quarter holds a special place because it lies at a crossroads of technology change, minting shifts, and lingering transitional elements from the silver era. It captures the imagination because it shouldn't exist in some of the forms it does, and yet, it does. Imagine the thrill of Fin Din.